Your phone says it needs another update. Again. You probably don't think, well, I guess the old operating system was completely wrong. Of course not. The world around it keeps changing. New needs appear, new problems come up, and the system has to keep up. Now here's a much bigger question. If there is one God, why have there been so many religions? Why Moses, then Jesus, then Muhammad? Why would God keep sending messengers? The Baha'i teachings call this progressive revelation, and Abdu'l-Bahá gives us a remarkably simple way to understand it. All humankind are as children in a school, and the dawning points of light, the sources of divine revelation, are the teachers, wondrous and without peer. In other words, humanity is still learning. And just as children aren't taught everything at once, humanity has received God's guidance gradually. Abraham, Krishna, Moses, Zoroaster, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, the Bab, Bahá'u'lláh. They appeared in different places at different times, among people with very different needs. But if they came from the same God, why didn't they all teach exactly the same thing? Abdu'l-Bahá explains that there are spiritual teachings that do not change. To know and love God, to love humanity, to become more truthful, just, and compassionate. He says this divine law is common to all and never subject to change. But religion also gives guidance for how people live together, and that can change because the world changes. A society thousands of years ago is not the world we live in today. And this is where that operating system analogy helps. An update doesn't mean everything that came before was wrong. It means conditions have changed. But something else can happen over time. Systems can get cluttered. Files can become corrupted. Things may no longer work as originally intended. Religion can go through something similar. Not because God's original revelation becomes corrupted, because of what we human beings can do with it. Interpretations accumulate, traditions get added, people disagree. And after centuries, what people have added to religion can sometimes become difficult to separate from what the messenger originally taught. Abdu'l-Bahá spoke about people following superstition, blind imitation of creeds and theological formulae, instead of returning to the divine fundamentals. So God renews his guidance, not because God has changed, because humanity has. That is progressive revelation. Jesus didn't make Moses false. Muhammad didn't make Jesus false. And Baha'u'lláh doesn't ask us to reject the divine teachers who came before him. They are part of humanity's continuing spiritual education. But there's one more part of this idea that I love. It doesn't end. Baha'is don't believe that God guided humanity for thousands of years and then decided to stop. Baha'u'lláh wrote, God hath sent down his messengers to succeed to Moses and Jesus, and he will continue to do so till the end that hath no end. Humanity will keep growing, the world will keep changing, and when the time comes, God will guide humanity again. Maybe that's the simplest way to understand progressive revelation. God has been educating the same human family throughout history, and our education isn't finished.